Good morning and welcome to the Think and Grow Rich Mastermind Live. And today is going to be an exciting show with Mr. Jim Harris talking about the principle of decision. Galen?
All right, welcome, welcome. This is how we know it's going to be an amazing show. This is how we know it's going to be an amazing show. My name is Kalen Bingham. I'm the leadership strategist, and I get the honor and privilege of kicking off our show today. So, we're going to be talking about the principle of decision. So, let me ask you, when was the last time you actually made a decision on this big thing that you've been talking about doing someday? And by making a decision, I mean where you literally cut off other options. There is no retreat, there is no option. You've got to go through. There's no other way out but to go through. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about your burn the ship moments where the only way to survive is to get through to the other side. And we've got such an incredible, first of all, incredible lineup of co-hosts. Not only do we have Miss Ann McNeil, but we have Luis Jimenez. Welcome back, man. What's going on? It's been a while since we've been on the same platform together. What have you been up to?
How are you, Mr. Galen? Good morning, Anne. Good morning, audience. Fantastic, just having a wonderful life, enjoying life and enjoying family. They're visiting from Europe, so having a blast right now this summer, growing. No other choice. But I like to say something to what you piggyback on what you just said. And let's remember, because we are living proof of success so far. We just don't realize that we got into this matrix and then we got caught up with the everyday thing, right? So what was one decision that radically changed your life? Marrying that person, moving to a different city, a different country in my case, right? Changing careers when you decided to pursue something, right? We have made big decisions already. And at one point, once you made a decision, you didn't care. You just went for it, right? So those are the kinds of decisions that change our lives. So it's going to be a very interesting show today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Can't wait to get in this. Ms. Ann, you've had to make a few decisions in your life. What are your thoughts about today's topic?
Wow. Galen, I want to go back to what the author says that the decision really is the mastery of procrastination. And when I
Mhm.
think about, wow, each decision that I am required to make, I go back to why. And I'll use I shared this last time and Lynn Whitfield hit me up afterwards. But my first decision every day is to rise early. And every time I decide not to rise when my body says it's time, I am reminded of that other book in Proverbs 6 and 10 that says, a little sleep, Galen, a little slumber, Lewis, a little folding of the hands, Jim, and poverty. That's what motivates me against procrastination. At that first decision to rise every morning, poverty will overtake me like an armed man, robbing me of my dream. And so I go back to the spirit of procrastination and being able and willing with the self-discipline, not my disciplining Lewis, not my disciplining Galen or Jim or our listeners. But what about my self discipline to master some skills such as rising early? And so that's where the decision principle starts for me, Galen, every single day.
Fantastic. We're going to get into this. But you've mentioned our guest. I want to tell you a little bit about the guest that we're going to have today so we can bring him in. Jim Harris is one of North America's leading keynote speakers on and thought leaders on AI, innovation, disruption, and leadership. He's named Speaker of the Year in 2024 by Canada's largest CEO peer mentoring organization. He presents in over 50 events annually and has worked with some of the top organizations, including Walmart, IBM, SAP, and UK Cabinet Office. This is the guy that's at the forefront of what we know, what we understand, and what we're thinking about AI. So, Jim, come on in, man. Would love to have you join our show.
Great to be here, Galen.
Well, hey man, you've got such a long and deep background in this area that is getting a lot of headlines in the last several years, and that is AI. At the beginning of AI, though, AI is here just as anything else because someone made a decision. It's one thing to think about an idea. It's one thing to analyze and to strategize and to build marketing around an idea. But at some point, someone has to make the decision to hit enter to make it an actual thing. So glad to have you on the show. Tell us just a little bit about your background and the journey that you've been on to get to the point where you're the lead, one of the leading voices in AI.
Well, I began studying AI in 1997 when IBM's Deep Blue beat Garry Kasparov in chess. Gary was the global grandmaster and chess champion, and this shocked the world and the chess world. It was thought before the set of games to be impossible, and then it happened. But that was $100 million project for IBM. I feel like a Dr. Evil moment coming on. $100 million. So what that said to companies is this is very expensive, and it was. But what happened in November of 2022 when ChatGPT was released is AI was democratized. Anybody could now use AI, and in this case, for free. So it created a revolution, and this is the most rapidly adopted technology and technology revolution in the world's history. I witnessed the birth of the web in 1993. We had the internet beforehand, but it was user vicious. You know, you had Unix commands, but with the web, it was easy and everybody could use the web. And that's the same kind of revolution we're in now with AI, but it's a revolution that's on steroids. It's at warp speed. So there are now more than 70,000 AI tools for businesses to use. And, you know, CEOs are a bit like deer in headlights. You know, I don't know what to do, where to start. And so today's episode is very important from a practical point of view. It's about making a decision. We have to decide to use AI. And then when we start, we're going to be terrible at it. It's like a baby learning to walk. Like it's terrible, it falls over, right? It scrapes its knee. But you can't learn to walk unless you're willing to wobble and fall over, right? And then once you've learned to walk, you have to learn to run. And then once you've learned to run, you can learn to be a hurdler. So part of this is more will be revealed. You have to make that decision and have faith that everything's going to work, and you will gain more skills, more understanding, more proficiency as you enter into this decision. But it requires a faith. And then the next chapter in Think and Grow Rich, because I reread it last night in preparation for today's podcast. But the next one is persistence, which means I just have to, the next chapter is on persistence. You'll get to that next week, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I really love the way that you're bringing into the conversation how all of these principles fit together. We talk about them individually, but it's really the real power is when they're all connected. Luis, would you introduce this video that talks about all the principles? Because I think for those who are just joining us, it might be helpful for them to see that connective tissue between the principles.
Absolutely. You guys have created one of my favorite videos ever. We're gonna have a description of all 13 principles from my favorite book in the whole wide world, Think and Grow Rich. And I strongly suggest you to get pen and paper and make notes while you're listening to this video. I've heard it probably dozens of times already, and I am still hearing new things or a deeper concept of some of the principles. So here you go.
Number one is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step two is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step three is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number four is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number five is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the wild, wild west days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole. Everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. subconscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
All right, there you have it. And Luis, to your point, I learned something every time I watch that video. So thanks for kicking it off for us as we get into the conversation on decision with Jim Harris. If you are watching us on YouTube, I'm going to ask you to hit that thumbs up icon underneath the video so that the algorithm will let folks know that we're having a conversation about decision with Jim Harris. And get your questions ready. This is one of the foremost leading experts on AI, and we want to make sure that we're tapping into his expertise. Jim, I want to come back to you as we continue to get into this conversation on decision. I would love for you to talk a little bit about how you became familiar with the book Think and Grow Rich. And we've got a couple people also checking us out in the studio, Deborah and Layla. They're checking us out in studio. So again, you're going to get some questions, but I'd love for you to lean in and just share, how did you get introduced to the book Think and Grow Rich?
Well, first off, it's a classic book, and it's been decades kind of Bible for many people. But there was a speaker named Susan Lidner who I was at an event with. We were in Bali for the Global Speakers Association, and we had breakfast together, and she was raving about the Black NSA's Mastermind. And it was such an amazing endorsement of it. I thought, my God, I've got to take it, do it. And the first thing was, I would never have done it had I not met Susan, because I would never have thought I could join Black NSA. So that was the first thing. So I joined, and you get to take the mastermind in your first year for free. So I did it, and it was so much fun. Susan was one of the facilitators of that. And while we were having breakfast, she said, I was very skeptical when I first took this thing, because there's affirmations and you think, oh, this is kind of hokey. But she said, I can't believe it. It works. And so this ties into the 13 principles we just talked about, like the subconscious. There are affirmations that you do every single morning. And everybody in the mastermind is all at different, stages of their career. And so they all have different goals, but you share in a group as well as the larger group. Anyways, it was so much fun that I signed up for the second one afterwards. So that's how I actually got into the masterminds with Black NSA. So I've done two of them, although I wasn't very present at the second one, unfortunately. I was on the road too much.
I get it. That's part of it. Once you tap into what seems to be the secret to success, then you've got to go where success might take you. And I want to bring you in because his story is very similar to so many, where you recognize that this book has been around since 1937. It's been a cornerstone book for so many, but it's not until you do a deep dive study that you really start understanding the power and the impact of it. What are your thoughts about this conversation, this area of decision?
Well, I want to go back to Jim's story about his decision to join. I mean, that was huge, a huge decision, just deciding that you were willing to join Black NSA. But can you share with our audience, though, Jim, if there's any particular decision that you currently need to make, have not made, or have made that may have been a serious struggle for you?
So that's interesting. Every year I get an executive medical. That's where you go in and they do every single test imaginable on you. It takes about 6 hours. And 2 years ago, the results were you're pre-diabetic and you need to lose weight and you're beginning to have cholesterol buildup in your arteries. So I made a decision, but I want to highlight here, there's a joke about there are 3 frogs on a log and one makes a decision to jump off the log. How many frogs are on the log? And the
3.
answer is 3, exactly, because a decision is not an action. If you make a decision and don't follow it by action, that is not a decision. So I made a decision to lose weight. And what happened is I stopped eating refined sugar. I eat as much fruit as I want. I stopped eating everything white. So white rice, white bread, pasta, I forget, rice. So stop eating all the simple carbs, have slightly smaller portions. And over a year, I lost 10 pounds of fat. So I'm thinking, I am great. I have lost 10 pounds. I'm going to go in there. And they retested me about 2 weeks ago. And it comes back, you are pre-diabetic and you're building up plaque in your arteries. And I go, that was the same result as a year ago. I lost 10 pounds. Where's my gold star? So I have doubled down on this change. I made another decision to go vegan. So for the last what would it be, 2.5 weeks, I've been vegan, only eating vegetables and fruits, no meat, no dairy, cheese. Now, I'm not absolutely fanatic about this. Like last night, I had some Parmesan on my Caesar salad, but I'm going to retest in another 45, 50 days. And I am sure, well, I've already come down about another 4 or 5 pounds. So we're going to retest after I've lost 10 pounds over 60 days and see if I'm back in balance on my bad cholesterol to good cholesterol and on this out of the danger zone on this pre-diabetic thing. So there's nothing like saying, hey, you've got a 20% chance of a heart attack in the long term if you don't change this plaque, and you're going to start being diabetic sooner or later if you don't change things. So a decision is important, but ultimately it has to immediately be followed by action. And then we have to have faith. So, one thing people might think is my life will have no joy if I'm not eating big steaks. Or, actually, my wife did this amazing dish last night with mushrooms, which taste very meaty. So that's, for me, an example from the last 2 weeks about a decision. So then you have to have faith. My life is going to be great without eating animals or animal-based products. So I'm still having a little bit of low-fat milk in my latte. Okay, so it's not absolutely strict, but 95% reduction in animal fats in my diet.
So if I can rephrase your response, if that's okay.
Please.
So you've made a decision to live.
It was a hard one, but yes.
And I say that because I want to go back to the desire principle. The desire principle drives everything. And for years, I couldn't understand why Napoleon Hill started it with the desire, why not the money and all of these other things. But when I'm listening to you about the things that you're deciding to do, I'm hearing strategies, but I'm also hearing your desire to live, and whatever you need to do to take action and decide these small steps. And I'm sharing that because so many of us must make decisions in different areas of our lives. And we think it's some big decision, but it's not. It's every bite, it's every moment that I turn over in bed that I think is a moment. And when I look at the clock, it's actually 2 hours later, not an hour, but 2 hours later. And so when you take the bite and another bite and you say it's okay and you justify it, you've just taken away another day of life and living. So I just wanted to share that because so many of us that's listening, uh, sometimes we don't personalize these conversations and say, okay, what decision must I make differently and then take an action on it. So thank you for sharing that. Galen?
Yeah. So, Luis, I see you leaning in, man. What's going on? What questions do you have?
No, it occurs to me that he's using all the principles in with this decision. Mastermind principle, doctors, diets, information, organized planning. He made a plan. I'm going vegan because this didn't work out as good as I mean, it went good, 10 pounds of, I'm sure you felt different, Jim, but then it wasn't exactly the result that you wanted. So we did not change the goal, we changed the strategy, right? We modified the strategy. So we're using every single principle that the book has. And even the sexual transmutation, right? Or the energy of sexual transmutation. We start once we get older, Napoleon says it, right? After 40 years old, we start using that and using that energy and focus on more important things for us, not just the sexual desire as well. Subconscious mind, I'm sure he's thinking while driving or in dreams while chilling about his health and all that. So thank you, Jim, because this, and thank you, Anne, for pointing out towards that direction, because it's true. Every major decisions that we do, like Bob Proctor says it or said it, used to say it. We are the unconscious competent, right? So we are using the principles without knowing we are using the principles, which in this case, Jim was using the principles very thoroughly and consciously. So no, that's what got my attention. That we every time in major things that we do in our lives, we are using the principles constantly. So yeah, that's what I got, Galen. That's what I started thinking.
All right. Well, hey, Jim, let me ask you because to your point, just because you make a decision doesn't mean that you're actually going to do some things. What made this? What's the turning point? What makes this a decision that you're going to act on versus a decision that you can just intellectually make? And not necessarily just talking about your particular situation, but how can we each decide that this is the time. This isn't just going to be an academic conversation. This is the time that I'm going to take action.
Well, as Anne pointed out, my decision was based on a desire to live a long life. And so if something is really important to us, if that desire is there, and I want to live a long life, I love life, I love what I do, it is important to me, and I don't want to have diabetes, and B, I don't want to have a heart attack. So then you go to, as Luis was saying, the medical practitioners who say you've got bad cholesterol, and where does that come from? And you're overweight. So my decision is to be within a balanced ecosystem for my body, so that I'm not pre-diabetic and I'm not at threat of a heart attack. So there's a saying by Confucius, which is to know but not to do is not to know. And so if I really say I know something uh, uh, deep in my soul, but I don't act on it, I'm really saying I don't know it. Or I'm allowing, in this chapter, it talks about external forces that convince us not to listen to that still small voice in our own mind and soul. So, public perception or other people's opinions, or, in the chapter, they talk about Henry Ford being criticized for not redesigning the Model T. And his point of view, I guess, was it is going gangbusters. Why are we going to change anything and do a redesign? We don't have any, I'm now putting words in his mouth. We don't have any competition. So let's run this through until we have exhausted or sales are beginning to decline. Then we'll think about redesigning it. So, in that sense, what comes to me from that story in the chapter is perfectionism is the enemy of progress.
Mm.
If I think as a child learning to walk, man, this moving from crawling to walking is painful. I wobbled and fell over. I'm skipping this thing. If I don't go directly to being a hurdler, I don't think I'm going to go through with this walking thing. No. When we're learning, and I believe we are all children, right? We are all children. We are all learning. And therefore, we have to accept the bumps and scraped knees along the way and have faith that it's all going to work out. So, this making a decision requires that faith and persistence because we're going to have setbacks, because it's not going to go perfectly on day one, because we're learning, and because more is revealed as we go through a process. But the only way I come to have a stronger, still small voice is by committing to the decisions that it tells me I need to follow and learning from those and growing.
Well, fantastic. I love it. I love the conversation so far. And you're absolutely right. It really comes down to making the decision. And I've often said, do you have the courage to suck? Right? We always, everyone has the courage to be amazing, but do you have the courage to put in the work and to be terrible and to be terrible publicly in pursuit of the journey? And because if you don't have the courage to suck, then you're never ever going to reach what you could. And I just love the way you highlighted. And have, in your pursuit to becoming the wealth builder, did you have the courage to make some mistakes and to be public with some of those mistakes, or did you become the first female general contractor in the state of Florida the first time?
You know, Galen, going back to the decision to live, I believe that the decision to live financially a life that allows us to make some different decisions, like where will I sit on the plane? Where will I sit, at the opera? Those are little decisions that oftentimes depend upon our financial state in life. And so for me, public or private, many have heard my story about making a decision on December 31st, 1979, being broken, and deciding that I did not want to live like that anymore. Now, go back to the point that Jim is making and also Lewis is making. It's the little small decisions. It's not the big decision. But I love what they say in AA. I must first acknowledge that I have a problem before I can begin to work on that problem. And Napoleon Hill shares with us, if you have a problem, decide to help somebody else with the same problem. And by doing so and serving others, you will help develop a way to solve your own problem. So those are still decisions that I think that every single day and every single way for all of us Oftentimes we don't think about that little small decision, Galen. Will I pick up the phone and make that call to that client, or will I put it off another day? Will I put on those sneakers and walk, even if it's 15 minutes, even though I love to do an hour, but to do the 15 minutes, will I do that yoga stretch? So those little decisions, and I want to go back to Jim, and the decision that he made once the doctor told him that this is what's going to happen if you don't change your habit. At what point, Jim, prior to that, in your gut, in your heart, in your spirit, did you know that health-wise, the decisions you were making may end up in a certain direction? Did you ever think those thoughts? And I'm going somewhere here, depending upon how you answer that question.
Well, as we age, I think Galen was talking about this a little bit. As we age, our metabolism changes. So everything changes in life. Change is the inevitable. So I have to adapt to new situations. Just like when the pandemic hit and we couldn't meet in person, as a speaker, I had to move to online. And so within a week, this bookcase you see behind me was set up, and I have a studio with a green screen and all that kind of stuff. But we had to make a whole bunch of changes, and our clients had to make a whole bunch of changes. We had to make a decision to remain relevant when the pandemic hit. So back to me personally, I was noticing, as we age, I was putting on a little more weight and whatever. And I don't like food. I love food. Oh my God, I love food. It is one of the great joys in life. And I'm an omnivore. I have enjoyed every kind of food imaginable. Now, there are certain things I don't like they just get to me, the mindset. But we won't talk about those. So to then say, hey, I'm going to not have certain kind of foods, you think, oh, I'm losing things here. Like I'm losing having a big, ribeye steak. I'm losing other things. But I am gaining things. I am gaining a longer life. I'm gaining not having a heart attack. I'm gaining not having to inject insulin. So, and I've had to give up refined sugar, and I think, oh my God, I'm giving up cakes, and croissant is a white thing that we talked about, and I love croissant. And I used to like certain kind of cakes, like caramel crunch cake. Oh my God, that was great. But what I'm actually getting is I find, how will life have joy if I don't have caramel crunch cake and tomahawk steaks? Well, here's the thing. I fruit and fruit salads, and oh my God, fruit is amazing. I'm having more fruit. I'm having more vegetables. And the thing is that, with a Caesar salad, my sister makes the best Caesar salad dressing in the world. And she shared the recipe with us. And so we have this Caesar that is to die for. And so I'll cut up 2 heads of romaine and put on the Caesar salad. And that's where the little, you can't be, maybe I should be, but I'm not I'll put some finely sprinkled Parmesan on it. So that is an animal byproduct. So, a true vegan would say, oh, Jim, you're going over the edge, man. But it's just a very little bit of sprinkled Parmesan. And that double Caesar salad, 2 heads of romaine, heaven. And I can't eat another bite after 2 heads of romaine with my sister's amazing Caesar salad dressing. So there's just as much joy in the food. It's just different kinds of food. Or here's one I love, Ethiopian. I don't know if anybody listening has ever had Ethiopian food. but the spices are fantastic. The injera is incredible. And you can have this amazing meal, all vegetarian, with all these different flavors. So there are worlds to explore. Now, I loved Ethiopian before I made this decision, but there is so much if I just am open to it.
Okay, and then the point of being, and I know we're gonna go to the annual meeting, Galen, but I asked you that question, Jim, because there's so many of us that need to make a different decision about our health. And what you just shared, and I think you pulled us all, I know I was leaning into the screen as you were talking, and now I'm hungry. But I think what I got out of this is the decision to live, but making a decision to eat differently in moderation. And so the same is true when, like Galen asked me about a decision about finances and things like that. And I want to encourage us, it's not the big decisions we make to have a wealthy life, like a healthy life. For me, when I get off of this Zoom today, we have an investment club meeting. For those of you that's interested, you can go to betterinvesting.org. It's a free membership. But learning to invest, Jim and everybody, $20 a month over 20, 30 years, learning to live a wealthy life, but also learning to live a healthy life by making some small decisions. Oftentimes we think of investing as this big decision. I got to put, $1,000 on the market, 100. No, how about $20? But the other thing that comes out of this conversation for me today, Jim and Galen and Lewis and everybody that's listening, is the need for education in making a better decision. Because I believe that the more educated we are, the better the quality of the decisions we will make. So I just wanted to share that because, again, I'm looking at this book behind you called Think and Grow Rich. And one of the things that he talks about is that one of the enduring pressures of life is health. So deciding to be healthy is deciding to be wealthy. All right, Galen and Jim, thank you. Lewis.
One thing I want to say is I like asking the question, who are our teachers? And each one of us will see 4,000 ads every day on TV, on radio, billboards, magazines, newspapers, online. And all of them are teaching us to eat a certain way, consume a certain way, define ourselves as successful if we only have certain material things. And, kids today spend more time watching television than they do with their teachers. So, who are our teachers and what are the voices we're listening to for defining what our life should be like and what is success? And in this chapter, Napoleon Hill talks about we can't be at the mercy of external forces and societal perception in terms of defining both success and in terms of listening to that voice from within and committing to decisions that we know in our hearts and souls are right for us and for our communities. So this bit about teachers and got me off on this riff.
Oh, that's good though. I mean, one of the things that I'm really getting is not only do you make a decision, but you have to follow it up with action. And then you've got to surround yourself with people who will support without unraveling, but support your decision. They don't even have to necessarily even understand your decision, but they need to support your decision. Because any small comment can unravel that confidence when it's in its early stages. I love the way the author calls it. It's almost like a newborn baby, not really able to stand on itself. So you got to protect those decisions in those early hours, those early weeks, because it's really, really fragile. One key decision I would encourage everyone to make, and that is to attend the annual meeting. And so the annual meeting is where we all get together the first weekend in January, and we focus on what has your life been for the past year. So literally, you have to arrive with your life in writing. That is your cost of entry. You can't get in the door if you don't have your life documented over the past year. And then you have to set goals in 10 areas of your life for the upcoming year. So, what are your plans? What are your goals? And then have your plans vetted by like minded people who support whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. They're going to support your effort to accomplish it. Don't know if we've got the image there, but you can find out more about the annual meeting by going to internationalmasterminders.com. That's one way. But then also we'll provide a link here in the chat on what it is and how you can register. But it is definitely a worthwhile event and activity. I go every year, or at least every year that I'm in the country and able to go. But it's definitely a great way to supercharge your year and make sure that the things that you're doing are consistent with who you say you're trying to do. You'll notice that it's you got people of all ages. I like showing the picture of the little kids, because you have a tendency to think, oh well, these kids, they don't know much. They're barely over 18. But the kids, they're the ones that they vet your plans, because they don't know all the fancy stories that we tell ourselves about why things don't happen. They don't understand that. They just know either you did it or you didn't, either you will or you won't. So I would encourage everyone to go to internationalmasterminders.com, get information about the annual meeting, and make sure that you are making your life a priority in 10 areas of your life. Luis, I want to come back to you. I don't know. Have you had a chance to go to the annual meeting?
Not yet, sir. Not yet. Every year I put up together a summit in Mexico City for martial arts owners, the school owners. So it's usually that same week, like the first or second weekend of the year, so we can kick out a really good uh, year, right? Planning, and these guys need direction and systems and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, but this coming year, probably I'm gonna move it to the end of the month so I can be there in Boca with y'all.
Fantastic. Jim, I want to come back to you. What's your thought about this decision to really just take control of your life? One of the things that Ann always reminds me of is my first time that I attended this annual meeting. I was very, very proud of the commitments that I was making, the progress I was making in the areas of business, in the areas of career. But I had not had the same level of commitment to creativity, to recreation, to health, to mental well-being. And those are the areas that really lead to a more full life. Those are the questions that the survey to attend the annual meeting will challenge you to answer and set commitments for on your behalf. What are your thoughts about expanding what we all typically think of as success as being more than just career, business, and money?
I think it has to be more than just career and money. The reason being is, if you have a great career and lots of money, but you don't have your health, you soon find out which of those three things is more important. That, if you're on your deathbed, your wealth and your career successes really don't matter. And so having a balanced view of life and a balanced view of success. So all areas, having great relationships, great friends, having meaning in community. I used to represent a guy called Stephen Covey, who wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And these other areas of life are incredibly important for success. And yet when we look at what is defined as success by the media, it's just wealth. Well, you can be very wealthy, but be spiritually poor.
Mm.
So Stephen he's dead now, but he was a Mormon. And Mormons have a philosophy of tithing, which is giving 1% of your pre-tax income to good causes in community, being of service to others. So being involved in service in community of tithing is all important. Stephen used to have another saying, which was great. I loved it. Where there's no margin, there's no mission. Many people feel that money is the root of all evil. In fact, the quote from the Bible is love of money is the root of all evil, not money itself. And so money is a means to an end. It's a means to an end for service. It's a means to an end for contributing to a betterment of society. It's a means to end to provide for our families and to be engaged deeply and meaningfully with our communities. So I'm not opposed to money. Like money is great, but what is money in service of? What is the higher purpose of it? And when we have more of it, we can do more. So this no margin, no mission, I felt was a really great little slogan from Stephen. So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's always fascinating to me that usually the people that don't like money tend not to have much of it. So, um, so we are drawing close to the end of our conversation today, but I would love to go around and just ask, what are some of the key ahas that we've gotten that we're taking from this conversation so far? Luis, I'll start with you. What insights have you gained from this conversation, and how can people get a hold of you if they want to get more insight from you in particular?
Yes, sir. It caught my attention. We didn't speak much about it, but Jim said something about a committed decision, and sometimes people want to know how before making the decision. So that was one of the things, and that's to me, it's one of the biggest killers in people's success, happiness, joy of life. They want to know how, and we don't make the decision until I'm gonna have this. When this happens, when this happens, when this happens, I'm gonna be able to do that. And it's not true. Once we make a decision, we find ways to make it, right? To make it to the end. So that was the first thing. So and then that got me to I was started thinking about the 80-20 rule, right? Like 80, because Anne touched on that. So she said, basically my take from it was the little decisions that we make through the day, that's 80%. The big decisions is only 20 or less percent every day or every week. But the small little decisions is what compounds, is what give us those 15 minutes walking instead of not walking at all. The 20, the push-ups, the stretch, the little $20 investment, the little 10 minutes of praying, the little 20 minutes of reading. That's what makes it the real difference. That's when the overnight success happens 5 years later, 3 years later, 10 years later, right? Right. So that's my aha moment, my takeaway from today. And you guys can find me on basically all platforms except for TikTok. Uh, Actually, I am on TikTok, but I don't manage that myself. I have my team doing it as Luis Jimenez coaching, Jimenez with a J, like luisjimenezcoaching.com and LinkedIn, Instagram, all those little platforms. But I'm on Facebook, Galen. Not like you. You're not on Facebook.
Yeah, I had to make a call. I had to make a decision.
Right.
Uh, so, Anne, I'd love for you to share your key insights and how people can get a hold of you.
Well, Galen, thank you for that. And also, Jim, thank you for being a part of our Black NSA Mastermind. And for those who are listening on the podcast and you cannot see, Jim is not Black. And so yes, and so it is it's an organization that's open to everyone. And so, Jim, my aha takeaway first starts with your decision to live, and everything else, all the other decisions um, followed that in terms of the strategy. But the big takeaway for me was the fact that you said I made the decision, but I did not act at the moment the decision was made. And so that brings me to the idea of a quick decision. And Napoleon Hill talks about this, making a decision quick and changing it very slowly, right? And taking action on the decision is what is encouraging me. And then looking at the decision in every single area of our lives. For example, making the decision to attend our annual meeting is a decision that I believe is life changing. And so, Galen, you talked about the children, and I am so excited. I told my daughter I was trying to wait to give her a surprise, but I'll wait. I'll wait on the surprise. So let me just hold it. Let me make a decision to wait. You know, grandmas, it's kind of hard for us to wait to share certain things about our grandchildren, but I'll wait for the annual meeting to share that my granddaughter just published her second book. Oh, please forgive me. Oh, I am so sorry.
No, no, nobody heard that. Nobody heard that.
But the decision for me also, and thank you for talking about how can people connect with me. I wrote this book called You Must Have a Dream to Have a Dream Come True. And this is a decision. And as I thought about today and started to go back over some of the principle, but also listening to the principle on audio, I thought about this idea, Galen and everybody, about the fact that oftentimes we don't make a decision about what we want, like a dream, like a wish list, like a desire, or whatever it is. And even though it may appear to be a big decision, it's a very small decision, which is to decide to have a desire, to decide to have a dream in my health, to live a better quality of life, not just to live, going to Jim's point, but to live a better quality of life and making the small decisions, Jim, thank you, about still loving food. But how about if I love some different types of food? Food that are live food versus food that's not live. So those are some of my takeaways and how people can connect with me. I set a goal to get 50 existing mastermind groups or new groups to our annual meeting in January. And I'm driving everything to that. So if you want to connect with me, you can text the number 59925. Again, that number is 59925. Text that number and just put Ann in the chat. I'll send you some information, but what it will do is it will help me connect with you to help you start start a new, what I call free family and friends mastermind group. Say it again, free family and friends mastermind group. Or like Galen and some of the others that may already have a mastermind group, consider connecting your mastermind group with our International Mastermind Association, utilizing the Think and Grow Rich philosophy of how we mastermind. And it's all about accountability. And I think Lewis said it earlier. The key is the fact that there are thousands of mastermind groups, but they're not accountable to another authority. And that's why we created the International Mastermind Association for Think and Grow Rich, just to be a place of accountability on groups. And this is not, you can get with Galen and Lewis and Jim and others, and even me, if you want to, hire somebody to do coaching and masterminding. That's different. And so that's how people can connect with me, Galen, 59925, and just put the word "and" in the chat. Thank you.
All right, all right. And then Jim, would love for you to just share what key insights do you really want to drive home for our listeners? What insights have you gained from the conversation? And then how can people get a hold of you?
So the German playwright, philosopher Goethe said, whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has a genius, a power, and a magic in it. And similarly, a Scottish mountaineer called W.H. Murray wrote, the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has a genius, a power, or magic in it. And this ties into Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich philosophy, which is have a plan and commit to the plan, but at the same time, be open to opportunity that comes along. Like the plan will increasingly be revealed to you as you go through it. So, for instance, a very good friend of ours subscribes to a meal service of home cooked vegan meals that's right here in Toronto. I live in Canada. And so she said, oh, you got to try this green zebra. So I contacted the owners, and now we're getting 6 frozen, amazing vegan meals sent to us. So if we don't have time to cook on a particular day, we just take this frozen thing out of the fridge and we've got some incredible, I love spicy food, incredible spicy dish ready for us in a matter of 20 minutes of defrosting it. So um, I didn't know about this service, but once we made this decision and the action followed, other people helped me along my journey.
Well, fantastic. How can people get a hold of you?
So you can email me, jim@jimharris.com. I'm on LinkedIn. And I have a YouTube channel and something, maybe in the notes on this episode, you can put it. I'm super excited. I recorded an AI presentation with a client 3 months ago, and it's broken 1 million views on YouTube. And so I'd love everybody to watch it and like it, and most importantly, comment on it, because that keeps the algorithm running along, showing it to more people. So that I'll paste in the chat here, and then maybe below this episode, you can post it when people listen to it.
Yeah, I just put the link to your YouTube channel there in the chat. So if you're watching via YouTube, you should see a link there to Jim's page. Wow, this has been such an incredible conversation. It really comes down to making a decision. And by making a decision, we're not talking about just stating what you want to do, but actually putting action behind it. My name is Galen Bingham. I'm the leadership strategist, host of the award-winning Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership podcast, where we talk to leaders all over the world about the whiskeys they drink, the music they listen to, and what they believe it really takes to be an effective leader. We also, at Kill Global Coaching and Consulting, we also teach the bold action method. And the bold action method really comes down to making a decision at the beginning of your day that these are the 3 most important things for me to accomplish today. And by deciding, if I have to drop a ball, it's not going to be these 3 balls. So make that decision and execute those 3 things, so that by the end of the day, if you've done nothing else, you can feel like you've had an important and accomplished day. We all overestimate what we can accomplish in a day and underestimate what we can accomplish in a year. And by following that bold action process, you ensure that you are doing the things that are most important to you. So I would just encourage everyone to really evaluate what are the 3 most important things for me to accomplish today, and focus and make a decision to accomplish those. This has been another incredible conversation. Jim, we absolutely are going to need to have you back. We're going to have to find a way for you and I to cross paths. Because if you're hanging out with Susan Linda, then that means you are a person on the right side of history, because she's one of my favorite people. So until next time, I'm going to encourage everyone to join us each and every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on YouTube, where we talk about Think and Grow Rich on the Think and Grow Rich live show. And we deep dive into one principle to make sure that you are living your best life. Until the next time, I'm going to encourage you to think and grow rich. Take care. Cheers.